The Free State government's ambitious plan to sponsor medical students abroad has backfired, leaving many unable to practice medicine in South Africa. Despite spending hundreds of millions of rands, poor planning and mismanagement have resulted in degrees that are not recognized locally, wasted resources and shattered dreams. Welcome to the Riaan Roux Show. Please do support my channel by liking, sharing and subscribing. The Free State government's plan to sponsor doctors to go and study abroad under Ace Magashule's leadership has turned into a big problem. Many of these doctors might never be able to work in South Africa. This issue came up during a meeting on Tuesday, 6 August, with unhappy postgraduate students and health officials, including Monyatso Mahlatse, the Provincial MEC for Health, Godfrey Mahlatse, head of the Provincial Department of Health, and Dr. Balakile Mzangwa, CEO of Universitas Academic Hospital. The government spent hundreds of millions of rands to send these students to countries like Russia, Turkey, India, and Portugal to increase the number of doctors in South Africa. Some of these students started their studies in 2014 and after 10 years still can't work as doctors in South Africa. One student from Heidedal, Bloemfontein, left with 52 students to study in China, and after 4 years of learning Mandarin and medical studies, they were told their Chinese degree wasn't good enough, and they had to move to Russia. They were promised an easy move, but when they got to Russia, they had to start their second year of studies again. This student and some of his friends finished their studies last year, but are still waiting to take the South African Health Professional Councils of South Africa board exam. They need to pass this exam before they can start their internship at a local hospital. This student from Heidedal said that they thought it was a good idea to go and study overseas, but after all this time, they are still not allowed to work in South Africa. This group's experience is different from those who studied medicine in Cuba, where their studies included a year of internship in South Africa. Other students studied in Turkey. One student came back to South Africa in 2020 and still hasn't passed the clinical board exam to start working as an intern. Since she returned, she took another job but still dreams of becoming a gynecologist. At the meeting, it was revealed that only 17 out of the 50 students passed their theoretical exams through the HPCSA. Of these 17 students, 16 passed the oral clinical exam. In another group, only 30 out of 102 passed the theoretical part of the exam, while 72 students failed. Only 11 out of 30 students passed the clinical exam, while 10 failed. Some of these postgraduate students asked for a refresher course to help them pass the exam. However, Mahlatse said that the students must work harder and that there is no extra money for training. Despite the initial promise of the program, the reality has been harsh. The government's investment appears wasted, as many students are now unable to qualify locally. The transition from international study programs to local qualification has been fraught with problems, and the students' hopes of practicing medicine in South Africa remain uncertain. The lack of additional financial support for further training exacerbates the issue, leaving many in limbo after years of study and significant financial outlay. This situation not only affects the students, but also highlights systemic issues in the execution and follow-through of government-sponsored educational programs. An additional 12 million rand was spent on 150 of these students to assist them to get through the exams, but most of them still failed. Now, here are my questions. What is going on in South Africa that these students could not study locally? Wouldn't it have made more sense to spend money from government side, creating institutions in South Africa where these students can study rather than send them abroad. We know international standards are not the same as required in South Africa. It was a known fact. Why send them to countries like China where it was known that the degrees will not be accepted in South Africa? So the entire management process behind the scenes seems, one, to me, a little obscure. Two, did someone profit from this? Was money being made that we are not aware of? Or was there some kind of a kickback process? We have to ask these questions because the information out there is a little on the lacking side, and unfortunately, the media is not of much help. I hope someone out there can perhaps give us some answers. Were you involved in one of these medical student-sponsored ventures? Were you perhaps one of those students sent overseas? What was the experience like? What was the reality of it? Please do comment in the comment section, as I would love to hear from the people out there what it was really like, because the information we are receiving is kind of lacking. The South African public really needs to be made aware of these kind of issues where money is being spent on deserving students, and perhaps even some who are not quite as deserving. Was there a rating system? How were these students selected? How were the groups set up, and how was it decided who goes and where? How were the institutions where they were going to study vetted? By who? The media out there is not providing the information we need. Maybe they have the same problem we have, that it's not being provided to them from the government side. However, we must note, this was the previous government. We are now in the 7th administration, and let's hope that this new administration is going to address these kind of issues and maybe assist some of these students that have now gone overseas and abroad and studied and now are stuck in a limbo in South Africa where they cannot continue working as medical personnel that we desperately need. South Africa needs trained medical personnel. We all know that there is a shortage of medical personnel, and their efforts, those who do work in the field, your efforts are really appreciated. Thank you. We know that you are under high pressure as young doctors, young nurses, and other medical personnel out there, and that you are absolutely overburdened with the amount of work and the amount of medical care that you are expected to supply. I blame the government for bad management, the previous government. Let's hope that this new administration changes things and assists these people. We really need medical students. We need more medical students, qualified medical personnel in this country to make it better. Let's hope for a better South Africa under the new administration. Let's hold our thumbs. Let's be positive. Let's hope that they live up to the promises that they have given us, and that it's not just speak as with the previous administrations. We do have a government of national unity, and let's hope that it makes a difference. If you have comments or an opinion, please put it down in the comment section. I love to read them. And please do subscribe to my channel, as I would love to bring you more stories. I'll see you in the next video.